fish have self-awareness according to a new study. Finding: experiments show that fish can feel and have self-awareness. An international team of researchers led by Masanori Koda from the Graduate School of Science, Osaka City University, has provided further evidence to suggest that fish have the capacity for MSR, that is, mirror self-recognition. Mirror self-recognition. You can imagine, they see themselves in the mirror and they say, oh, that's me. Osaka City University, via phys.org, says, of 18 fish, 17 responded to the visual cue of a mark on their body when presented with a mirror during a study. Can you imagine? They're so smart. Mirror self-recognition, MSR, is seen as evidence for self-awareness and passing the mark test, in which animals touch or scrape a mark placed on their body in a location that can only be indirectly viewed in a mirror, is used to determine the capacity of an animal for MSR, mirror self-recognition. Aside from chimpanzees, the evidence for other animals having passed the mark test has been criticized and thus inconclusive, but addressing criticisms placed against their previous work on the cleaner fish Labroid didiatus, an international team of researchers led by Masanori Koda from the Graduate School of Science, Osaka City University, has provided further evidence to suggest that the fish have the capacity of MSR, that is, mirror self-recognition. Now let's keep in mind that usually their eyes are on the side of their head. They're not in the front like carnivores are. It's amazing. So this new experiment was recently published in PLOS Biology. Professor Costa says, previously using a brown marking on the throat of L. dimidiatus, that's the fish that we see here. So previously using a brown marking on the throat area of dimidiatus, we had shown 3 out of 4 cleaner fish to scrape their throats several times after swimming in front of a mirror, a number on par with similar studies done on other animals like elephants, dolphins, and magpies. However, one of the criticisms laid against this result was sample size and the need for repeated studies showing positive results. Teaming up with researchers from Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior in Germany and the University of Neuchâtel in Switzerland, this study increased the sample size to 18 cleaner fish with a 94% positive result of 17 of them demonstrating the same behavior from the previous study. But why a brown mark? After looking at similar studies done on monkeys, pigs, dogs, cats, etc., that clearly tested negative, we wondered if the reason these animals did not attend to the mark was because it did not represent something in their natural environment they would be concerned about, says Professor Koda. He says, in our previous study, we used a brown mark as it may look like a small parasite that is a main food source for L. dimidiatus fish. So in the images that we have here, ecological relevant color marked brown on the throat of cleaner fish and ectoparasite sea stag in part A of the image. Bar is 1 millimeter, meaningless color marked green and blue on the throat of B. These cleaner fish are just after mark injection and are still in the anesthetized condition. A criticism in response to this was the possibility that the physical sensation of the mark, together with seeing the brown mark in the mirror, may trigger behavior that does not conclusively suggest MSR. To address this, the team tested how the fish would respond to a physical stimulus in their throat by injecting the brown mark 3 millimeters deep as opposed to 1 millimeter. At such a depth, the mark was hardly visible, yet they found that fish with a deeper injection scraped their throat at similar rates when a mirror was absent or present. To further solidify the importance of using marks that are ecologically relevant to the animals in MSR studies, the team found that no fish injected with green or blue marks demonstrated this scraping behavior. Lastly, some critics wonder if L. dimitiatus fish recognized the mirror image as itself and not another fish. A mirror-trained animal is one that is introduced to a mirror image of itself and goes through 3 steps. First, it expresses some kind of aggressive behavior, as it likely perceives a mirror image as another animal, and then it shows unnatural yet non-aggressive movement, as it confirms the mirror image is not another animal. And last, it repeatedly looks at its own body with no aggression. At this point, MSR is possible, as it can now see the mark and try to scrape it off. Professor Costa says, our previous study demonstrated MSR in L. dimitiatus fish. However, studies with other animals have shown that simply moving a mirror reignites aggressive behavior, suggesting the animal has only learned to a spatial contingency and not MSR. To address this, the team transferred mirror-trained cleaner fish to a tank with a mirror on one side of the tank, and then 3 days later to a tank with a mirror on the other side of the tank, and saw the fish show no aggression towards their mirror image in both tanks. Also, to ensure that the L. dimitiatus fish that passed the mark test truly are recognizing themselves, they placed mirror-trained fish in adjacent tanks that were separated by transparent glass. After 2 to 3 days, when fish largely reduced their aggressive behavior towards each other, they were marked the standard way the following night. None of the fish scraped their throat during the 120 minutes of exposure to each other the following morning. This result suggests that a visual, ecological relevant stimulus on another fish is not enough to induce throat scraping on marked subjects, says Professor Koda. He said we still have much work to be done, especially quantitatively, to show that fish, as well as other animals, have the capacity for MSR. However, as a result of this study, we reiterate the conclusion of our previous study that either self-awareness in animals or the validity of the mirror test needs to be revised. So, referenced further evidence for capacity of mirror self-recognition, MSR, in cleaner fish and the significance of ecologically related marks. This is by Osaka City University, via phys.org, by Dr. Masanori Kokta on Bended Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.